As early as the 8th century, 700 years before the beginning of the Atlantic slave trade, the trading of Spanish and Eastern European slaves between the Muslim conquerors of Spain and Jewish merchants was in full effect. In 711 AD, an African army led by Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from northern Africa and invaded the Iberian Peninsula. This African Muslim occupation of Spain, or Andalus as it was known after the invasion, lasted for 800 years. During the Moorish rule, Jewish slave traders who had been engaged in the trading of Gallic slaves since at least the 6th century seized the opportunity to profit from the Moors' extensive desire for slave servants. Records show that during the reign of Rahman III, between 912 and 961 AD, at least 13,750 Slavs were brought to Cordoba by Jewish slave traders and enslaved in the capital city alone. Eunuchs were especially desirable to Muslim slave owners, and the Jewish merchants of Verdun specialized in castrating slaves. Jews in Andalus were a favorite minority and were often responsible for running the slave camps and the slave trade itself. Historians estimate a total of around 4 million white slaves were bought and sold in Spain and Morocco alone.
So you're saying that Muslims enslaved millions of Europeans?
That's correct.
And yet, why aren't they discussing it in this museum?
I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that, Jack, but I think they should be. If they want to call it an international slavery museum, they really should discuss the Barbary slave trade. It would be okay if they just wanted to make a museum solely about Liverpool's role in the transatlantic slave trade, but if it purports to be an international slavery museum, then it is wrong, in my view, for it to ignore the Barbary slave trade.
And since we've been here, we've seen literally scores of school children being wheeled in some cases, into the building to be indoctrinated to hate their own ancestors. We've had a little altercation with a museum guide where I asked him, is there an exhibit on the Barbary slave trade? And he said to me, the Barbary slave trade never happened. We all know it did, but for some odd reason the museum is omitting this from the annals of our history. So why are they omitting this from the annals of the history?
It's, I think, because if they told the truth, it would engender a sense of pride because of the heroism and the courage that was involved in ending the Barbary slave trade, and it would break away this myth that the white Europeans were the sole oppressors and the blacks were the sole victims. The truth is, slavery, sadly, has been practiced by almost all nations, peoples, and races.